3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Texas Private School Podcast, the Week 6 preview. Walker, can you believe it? I say this every time, but we are flying through this season.
Yeah, it's been crazy, man. Already halfway through the season. Does that make sense, right? Because
Yeah,
11 weeks. So, man, it's gone crazy, man. I'm excited, and we're finally starting to. Some teams are getting into district play. We have a couple last game non-district games going on this week, and should be a good one this week.
we are on the cusp of some very exciting action. But before all of that, as always, I'm one half of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson, joining you from the heart of downtown Dallas, Texas. My fantastic co-host, Walker Lott, joins us from College Station, Texas, where I very frequently wish that I still was. It's a beautiful, beautiful town that I hold very dear to my heart. But Walker, as always, a fantastic week in private school football last week. First of all, how are you doing? Second of all, your thoughts on the action?
Yeah, doing good, man. Staying busy. School's keeping me busy. I'm guessing the same for you. And it's just keep grinding, man. This doesn't stop, and we don't want it to stop. It's so much fun doing this every week. So been good.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all getting busy. School's getting busy. Football stuff is ramping up, but it's a fun time. It's good to be busy. It keeps us out of trouble and keeps us doing things that we really, really enjoy. But all that being said, yeah, it's we are getting into some very, very interesting district action, and I'm excited to preview it all. But before that, we will go over the pick records. Walker, last week I said as we were filling out the pick sheet that this slate scared me tremendously because outside of the games that we did on the episode, and I even got a couple of those wrong, the ones I was picking on the sheet, I was like, I don't feel good about any of these. There's like 2 in here I think are guaranteed winners, and the rest are just toss-ups, which is not normal for picking a private school slate. Usually about 75% of the card I feel good about, and the rest of it I'm like, but this week was tough. But all that being said, we weren't even like really close to 500, which is nice. Now, recapping some of these games, we got hammered pretty hard from individual teams, which I'll recap. But Walker, last week you went 12-7. I went 13-6, which ties the overall record again at 70-25. So it's a razor thin margin. This might end up being the most tightly contested pick race that we've ever had. I would have it no other way. What are your thoughts on the way things are shaking out?
No, yeah, we're doing really good so far. This is probably our worst week so far through 6, and not that bad. Could be definitely worse. And yeah, you're 1 game up on me. I think looking at the list, let me pull it up right now. So we both lost on TVS, we both lost on Grapevine Faith, both lost on Legacy Prep, and we both lost on Monster Sacred Heart over Covenant, both lost on Brazos Christian. And then my differences were Second Baptist. I chose Second Baptist in Oak Ridge, and you chose Northland. So those 2 losses got me a little bit more. And we're back in it, man. This is gonna be a good one.
I know it's going to come down to the wire. Before the season ends, I will either A, locate the pick trophy, which is becoming increasingly less likely as time goes on, or B, order a new one that looks identical. So I might just tell you that I found the pick trophy when in reality I just ordered a new one. It'll make no difference. I might get one that's like 8 feet tall, so it's just like incredibly just outrageous, which we'll see. We'll see if there's money in the budget for that. But it's fun. Like I said, this isn't the best week we've had, but any week where we're not too close to 500 isn't a disaster. And also, once we get into district, things get a lot easier to pick because, especially deeper, because you can see what teams have beaten who already. And the transitive property, which I so often say isn't applicable in football, comes into play a little bit more. But that being said, pick records are going to be interesting as the season moves on. It's a fun thing. It's a fun thing we do. I like being chirped when we're wrong. It's fun. And very quickly we will get into a game where we got chirped heavily. But before that, Walker, we are going to recap the scoreboard presented by TXPS Media with the same iteration that we did last week. 1 sentence per each game. will be interesting. So first of all, we're not going to recap 5 of the games on the left-hand slot just simply because we will recap those more in depth. But starting with Argyle Liberty and Bishop Lynch, Liberty beats Lynch 56-7. The train keeps on rolling.
Yeah, as expected, but yeah, the battle of the undefeateds this week.
Oh, absolutely. Prestonwood beats San Antonio Cornerstone. Prestonwood getting back on track.
Offense is showing what they were able to do beforehand. Shout out to Caden Collins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Shout out to Caden Collins. Cassidy beats St. Mark's in Cassidy. Texas still greater than sign Oklahoma, regardless of outcome.
That's a good one. Shout out to the OU commit for joining our Twitter space on Friday. That was awesome.
That was a fun time. St. Pius drums Bishop Dunn 36-14. My sentence is lineman and Bishop Dunn now.
Houston St. Pius, strong start to the season.
There we go. Hyde Park drums TMI 49-19. Where was this against Savio?
Hyde Park looking like a top team in Austin.
There we go. Kinkaid beats Second Baptist 21-7. Coach Larned, your scoreboard.
Coach Larned, you're welcome.
There we go. St. John's beats Lutheran South 58-21. Offense could be the best in SBC 4A.
Whew. I'm still shocked by that sentence. Sorry, I don't know what to say to that. That's wild, but I mean, it could happen. Yeah. For sure. Shout out to St. John's, man. Looking very, very impressive.
Grace Prep beats Cistercian 21-0. Thank you to Cole Burke. Fantastic coverage of this game. That would not have happened otherwise.
Shout out to Caden Lehue. Should have been not as close though.
Agreed. I will take a quick aside on that game. Cole was testing us today and about the game. He was like, dude, Caden Leahue's a dog. And I was like, yeah, Caden Lehue is a monster. Every time I watch Grace Prep, it seems that Caden Lehue just goes crazy for them. But yeah. I do like to see that. ESD destroys Lake Country 56-10. Expected a little more fight from, I was going to say the Eagles, but they're both the Eagles, but you know what I mean.
Why was this game even played? This is such a random matchup.
It really is.
This is a random one, but I dig it. I dig a random matchup. It's just such a random one.
Absolutely. TCS Lubbock beats McKinney Christian 54-14. What do I say here? As expected. Yeah.
TCS, you forget about it at times, but they're still as good as ever.
There we go. Covenant Christian beats Munster Sacred Heart 38-7. Not expected, shout out Enow's little brother.
Vernon Wells is making this team head in the right direction. I'm excited to see the future.
There we go. Pantego Christian beats Coram Deo 30-7. I will say the same thing as last week. Coram Deo burners, come and get me.
Pantego Christian always has athletes excited to see what they do in district.
Bay Area Christian beats Brazos Christian 21-12. Brazos, my pick record, it can take no more, please.
Changing of the guard at quarterback at Brazos is going to be interesting to see how it goes in the future.
John Cooper beats Oak Ridge 43-23. Very happy to see John Cooper back into the win column.
Yeah, figured it would be closer, but John Cooper is coming into their own later in the season.
There we go. Episcopal Bellaire beats Legacy Sports Sciences 56-7. I retract my statement. EHS has the best offense in SBC 4A.
Agreed. Also, does the talent at Legacy, all these D1 offered players, not play? I don't get it. I don't get all the offers, and resulting in a loss like this.
That is crazy. DC beats Nolan Catholic 59-21. Did we expect anything else?
Still rebuilding. Nolan, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that might be the best one so far. St. Thomas beats JP2 49-3. JP2 blow it up.
St. Thomas gets a rest week before district. Good for them.
In the same boat, Regents beat San Antonio Christian 58-0. Please get Regents out of that district.
Sorry, it's wild that happens every year, because it's not like Regents doesn't get transfers. They're just that good.
Do you think that district's worse than District 2?
And in Division 2?
Division 2.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Sorry,
Like,
I am blinded because as much as I just like spew like Grace propaganda as much as I can, I am very cognizant to the fact that District 2 is awful. But I guess it's not awful. You got Grace, Faith, and Dunn, but I don't know. Anyways, Dallas Covenant beats TCA Willow Park 46-6. There's nothing I can extrapolate from this game. Shout out to Dallas Covenant.
Yeah, shout out to Dallas Covenant. Willow Park, I remember the days that y'all were good with Ryan Hollingsworth. There you go.
Maybe he has a younger sibling in the pipeline somewhere, which like LCCS and other schools, it seems to be the savior. But
his younger brother played at LCCS, which is funny. Well, because Ryan started at LCCS. Well, he started at SCS. He moved over to LCCS, started quarterback for a couple of years, and then transferred to TCA Willow Park while his younger brother took over there. So that's
interesting.
Little family story. Anyways,
fantastic.
But yeah, that District 3, man, it's bad, and I don't know why, but like it also is in a weird location to where they have to get the Brownsvilles and all those, like where you just don't know much about them, but they're the only one in their area in the small towns that they are. It's only private schools, so they're a bigger classification, so that's why they're in that. It's just like it's crazy. It doesn't. Yeah. It also doesn't prepare regions for playoffs as well, because then they don't play the whole games most of the time, and you're like, okay, a team like St. Michael's that like 2 years ago looked really, really good, or a year ago, and then they get smacked in district, and you're like, okay, how am I? Like, it's rough out there for that District 3.
Yeah, and at least I was going to make a comment about District 4, but at least in District 4, like Second Baptist and FBCA usually have each other to kind of play off of the competition. And then you have the Woodlands Christian Academy, which usually is never like bad. So I don't know. It's interesting that I don't know how the scoreboard ended up in a rabbit hole around what needs to be restructured in District 3, but I'm sure it'll naturally fix itself as always seems to happen. But that being said, I really do like the one sentence segment. That is something that I've grown to enjoy. It's a fun time. It's kind of a good mental exercise. It makes you think on your feet. It makes us better analysts, I'd like to think.
I agree.
But pardon the interruption. It is 11:30 p.m. and we just realized we forgot to introduce our minute with the interns. As you all know, we have some fantastic people helping us out with content this year, and we want to give them a chance to break down some games for you. So without further ado, let's get into it.
In Week 5 of Texas Private School football, the Bay Area Broncos out of TAPS Division 3 matched up against the Brazos Christian Eagles out of TAPS Division 4. The Eagles started freshman quarterback Cooper Murr, who threw for 240 yards and allowed Jackson Caffey to move to running back. The Broncos running back Scott Farine Jr. ran for an incredible 248 yards and 3 touchdowns. The two teams were locked in a defensive battle at halftime, with it being only 8-6 favoring Bay Area, but in the end, Bay Area won 21-12 with a late interception sealing the deal for the Broncos with an impressive win.
Hi everyone, I'm Brinley Dean. I go to Dallas Christian School, and I'm also doing an internship with Texas Private School Media, and I'm going to recap the Dallas Christian versus Fort Worth Nolan game. Dallas Christian just got a dominating win over Fort Worth Nolan. They won 59-21, and this was a very offensive game where the offensive dominated all throughout the game, including on the first drive of the game. Will Nettles got a touchdown. There are obviously 3 stars that shined on the Dallas Christian offense, starting off with Will Nettles, who had 106 receiving yards. Luke Carney threw for 271 yards, and Jaden Davis rushed for 156 yards. But there was also a star that shined on defense. Nick Barr had 15 total tackles and 2 sacks, which is obviously amazing for a defensive game. The Dallas Christian Chargers play Fort Worth Christian this week, which is a rivalry that runs pretty deep with the Chargers, and I hope that they bring a lot of these things this week to pull off this win. I'm Brinley Dean, and I'm doing an internship with Texas Private School Media.
That being said, we will now move into our recaps of the 5 games of last week, starting with, I hate to do it, Faith at Fort Worth Christian. Fort Worth Christian adamantly states that they were not aware of the supposed free fall as they best faith 55-52 in an absolute shootout. Luke Dodd puts on a masterclass here, throwing for 450 yards and 6 touchdowns without an interception, finding both Aiden Skiles and Grant Golly for 2 touchdowns each, as Skiles and sophomore Cade Crawford equips the century mark receiving. Running back Landon Spencer also added a couple touchdowns on the ground. This was also a huge game defensively for Rex Reed, coming up with 15 total tackles for the Cardinals. And as for the Lions, Clayton Sebeki did Clayton Sebeki things with 240 passing yards, 240 rushing yards, and 7 total touchdowns. Senior Ben Wagner had a massive day at the office also with 181 receiving yards on 11 grabs. So, Walker, a game that I don't know. I expected Faith to win. I expected them to win by a couple touchdowns, honestly, given Fort Worth Christian's loss to Lake Country Christian. But that was not the case, and I got shelled on social media for it. Your thoughts on Luke Dodd just absolutely going nuts?
Yes, it was a very, very good game. I think this shows that Lake Country Christian is better than we expected them to be. And so that should make it interesting Division 3. But Fort Worth Christian still has talent, and they showed it this game. That 24 class looks pretty impressive with, also Tucker Ashford over there, the 26. Grapevine Faith is always a good squad, and Clayton Sebeki did his thing like we asked, we figured he would. And when I was in a rain delay, so I was watching the game a little bit on my phone, and it was just back and forth, a lot of points. And I think Faith scored with like a minute left in the game or something like that. And I was like, yeah, that's too much time to give Fort Worth Christian. And of course they went down and scored, and that was ball game. And so, I think it was the matter of like, all right, who had the ball last, and that's what happened this game. And I think both squads are, decent, but I guess like you always do with Tyler Grace community, Grace community. I think it helps me build confidence in my Eagles being able to compete with Fort Worth Christian this year. So I'm happy about that. But Grapevine Faith, I think both of them can take away from this that they're good teams, and they're going to fight hard, and they have a chance. Well, I think Grapevine Faith has a chance for their district. Fort Worth Christian, I don't know yet, but good win. Always a great rivalry. They hate each other, and this is a good one, barn burner for the ages. They'll remember for a while.
Absolutely. Fort Worth Christian hates more than one team, which we may get into detailing later this episode. Stick around for that. But we will now move on into the second game from last week, Central Texas Christian at Magnolia Legacy, another game I got very wrong. Walker Lott, go ahead and detail this game that you were on site to cover.
Yeah, it was a great day down in Magnolia. We got through like 2 quarters right before the halftime rain delay hit. And we were in rain delay for like an hour, came out of it, and it was one of the grossest environments I've ever been a part of, where the humidity was insane with a little bit of just overcast. It was gross. But the on the field was not gross, and it was a good game. Close game in the first half, and then the offenses just kind of started rolling for Central Texas. Legacy Prep, they looked apart. Wyatt Francis looked very, very impressive. Rashal Sanders, Jeb Sanders, and both Prazaks, the older one and the younger 26 receiver, had scored twice. I think they have a lot of talent, and I think they looked really good. And I really like Francis and Rashal. I think they're going to be a very good combination duo for the future. And I think they're going to keep them within games in district because they have like Bay Area, Brentwood, and Cypress. And I think they'll stay in games. They just have to get their passing attack going for sure. For Central Texas, they play a disciplined defense against a team that can throw the ball really well. And let that legacy offense not truly be itself. Tabor Tyson, the 24 running back, is the real deal. 300 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns, and most of it came in the second half. And what makes him better than most is, he just takes the hit. He runs physical. And when you're in the third and fourth quarters and maybe people kind of slow down and, they get tired, he's still 100% energy, and he just runs strong. He runs fast. and he just does not stop. He doesn't have that. He has that mentality of he just goes 100% till the very end. And that's what separates him from the rest. And that's why he's the real deal this year. And that was kind of the key of the game, where anytime Legacy had a chance, they made a stop to poor Tyson, or they got to stop, and they just need they need to stop their offense for Central Texas. Poor Tyson would get a handoff to the left and run it 70 yards up the sideline. And he kind of shot them. Any of their chances shot them down completely multiple times. Tristan Eanes was impressive with multiple sacks. 26 Cooper Smith was one to watch. As a quarterback, 6'2" gunslinger, and I'm excited to see how he progresses. And 25 Gabriel Logsdon was another one that stood out to me as well. So they have a couple guys. I'm excited for the Central Texas team. They'll be one of the best teams in Division 4 out of the South. It's going to be interesting with like the Hallettsville Sacred Hearts of the world to see how they do. But they're going to be good. I'm excited to see how they do. But yeah, good. It was a good one down in Magnolia. Thank you to both head coaches for meeting me. It was awesome to finally meet both those squads. We haven't been down there ever for the private school podcast, so I was excited to be down there for a game and see both schools, meet both coaches. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm rooting for Central Texas. As we mentioned, as I mentioned on the space this Friday, they were a team that started off really hot last year and like came on our radar, and then they fell off towards the end of the year. So I'm really hoping, and I think with guys like Tabor Tyson and everyone else you mentioned, I think they're really poised in a D4 South that's weaker than anticipated, with Brazos Christian falling off a little bit. I think they've got a really good chance to go deep, and I'm very excited to see how they progress through the season. But yeah, shout out to Central Texas Christian. Very excited to see them progress. Moving on to Mercy Culture Prep at Dallas First Baptist, and Dallas First Baptist just absolutely takes Mercy Culture Prep behind the woodshed here with a 68-26 victory, improving to 5-0 on the year. Just as a caveat, star running back John Raybuck was out for Mercy Culture Prep. Would that have accounted for 42 points? I say probably not, but Raybuck has put up that many points by himself in a game, so you never know. But I'd say that First Baptist probably wins this game regardless. But the stars, as usual, perform for First Baptist. Elijah Kaysen at 100 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. Just insane stat. If I need to get him on my fantasy team. My receivers are just trash right now. So if I can somehow get Elijah Kaysen plugged into my slot and get Pacheco for the Chiefs out of there, I'll be golden.
I remember sidebar, I was at the St. John's game a couple weeks ago, and they were telling me that if Cole Allen was a fantasy football player last year, he would have averaged like 40 a game for last year in high school football. So that just another funny thing. Anyways, continue.
I don't doubt that at all. That kid's a monster.
Yeah.
And then also Caleb Mitchell at 124 yards and a touchdown. I don't see how you guard Caleb Mitchell in D4. He's like all of like 6'5", just long, lanky pogo stick of a human. And all Hunter has to do is just kind of like throw the ball like that, and Caleb just goes up and grabs it. I was watching their tape against Mercy Culture Prep, and just anytime they get within like 10 yards of the end zone, it's just fade right to the pylon. But I mean, he's an absolute freak. Speaking of Hunter also had between the at least 5 passing touchdowns, also a long rushing touchdown, a couple long fantastic runs with his legs. He's just such a dual threat athlete, and I don't know how you contain him in D4 either. As for Mercy Culture Prep, wide receiver Josh Marshall was also a star, even in the loss, posting 193 yards and 3 touchdowns for the Royals. Just shout out to him. Fantastic stat line. But Walker Lott, First Baptist doing First Baptist things. Do you see anyone stopping them in Division 4, except for Lubbock Christian, maybe?
No, besides Lubbock, no. That semifinal matchup in a couple weeks down in November, where it's going to be Lubbock Christian against First Baptist, will be one for the ages, and I'm very excited to watch it. But yeah, I don't think anyone comes close. I will say I would love to see where the points, that 26 points, come into play for Mercy Culture. If it was overtime, that could be interesting. Like you said, if Raybuck played, is it a different ball game? But if it's like a thing where it's like 50, if there was 50-0, and then they put in the JV guys type of thing, it's a little different reason for the score. But 26 points kind of scares me if it is that first point where it was over the game, where does First Baptist maybe have issues or with like a Lubbock Christian scoring on them? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's just going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I mean, First Baptist has given up points this season. I don't know exact figures in front of me. I couldn't get
Right.
to them, but they're not like teams like 78-0. It's a lot of like 60 to like 46 type games. Maybe not that tight of a margin, but I mean, they're just a flat out air raid. We're going to score and score and score, and you score more than us and you win. And no one's been able to do that just yet. So the game plan is working. Probably the most electric team in the state, really, on a pound for pound basis. Shout out to First Baptist. They should have some incredibly fun matchups in the future. Next matchup is Northland Christian at Hollettsville Sacred Heart. Sacred Heart blanks Northland Christian 23-0 to improve to 5-0 and subsequently tank my pick record, as quite a few teams did this past week. Northland actually outgained Sacred Heart from scrimmage in this one, but the Indian defense comes up big, forcing 4 fumbles in this one, keeping Northland Christian off the scoreboard. In terms of offense, Andrew Stefek tossed 2 touchdowns to Nick Angerstein and Clayton Haas, and Angerstein booted a 47-yard field goal. Walker, I remember we were previewing this game, and for some reason, Angerstein is such a good kicker that it never even occurs to me that he plays anything except for kicker. I forget he's like a very good wide receiver for them as well, which, you know, if I would have, I'm not saying that that's the reason I didn't pick them, because I should have known that. But if I would have realized again that Nick Angerstein is such a good athlete and receiver as well, that might have influenced my decision.
Yeah, Nick Angerstein is a great athlete. I know he plays basketball as well. I'm guessing he does track and all that for, you know, especially at that level, you probably do everything. And so he's just an athlete, and he also has can kick a 47-yard field goal with ease. That's just the type of player he is. So with him and everyone else we've already mentioned, Hallettsville Sacred Heart probably looks like the best team out of the South right now. It's going to be interesting to watch, as teams go. And a good one this week, I believe, is that we aren't going to talk about, but it is going to be a good matchup, is Hallettsville Sacred Heart versus Bay Area. How are they going to do against a Division III team that has looked pretty good so far? It looks solid. So it's going to be interesting in that one. But good win for them. Good win for Sacred Heart. Northland, they still have to go into district, and they have to play the teams like Brazos and others. So it's not over, but Northland, they have weapons. They have a couple guys. It's going to be interesting how they do in district. So.
Yeah, it definitely will. 2 teams still have a lot of potential going forward. Will be exciting to follow them. Moving on into the final game to recap, in a game that I was on site at, Houston Christian at Trinity Valley. I just want to give a big shout out to Trinity Valley. Everyone that I encountered there was super nice, as we say about pretty much every school we go to. It's always really cool to see the reception, the love from everyone. At one point, I told y'all this in the group message. At one point, I was on the sideline. It's like in the middle of the second quarter, and I'm just, standing there with my phone like this, which is how you're going to see me at pretty much any game. Also, feel free to come up and talk to me if you want. I'm a pretty friendly guy. I enjoy engaging with everyone at these games. But yeah, I was standing on the sidelines, and I just hear over the PA system, "We'd like to give a special welcome to Wes Tolleson from TXPS Media for coming and covering the game tonight." And it might have been a little extra, but I just kind of looked at the crowd, and I gave the Derek Jeter, hat tip. And I texted the group message, that might be the most baller thing I've ever done. It was fun, dude. Like, people tell us all the time that like we make it special for the kids in private school. Y'all make it special for us. We feel like celebrities doing this, dude. It's a mutual relationship. But shout out to Trinity Valley, and also shout out to Houston Christian. I got to talk to Coach Terry Pirtle, which anyone that has listened to this podcast for long enough knows I am I'm very fond of. Great guy. But shout out to everyone on both sides. That being said, Houston Christian establishes their place at the top of 3A as they knock off the Trojans at their house 34-32. And listen, senior quarterback Brett Kilchrist is a star, and he proved it on Friday behind 285 yards and 4 touchdowns. Luke Pigeon, Anderson Jones, and Bennett Mallory all caught touchdowns in this one, and they were standouts. Jordan Ellie Stewart was incredibly impressive from his corner spot, locking down an entire side of the field. And that dude's a legit prospect. He's long, he's lanky, he's everything you want in a DB. Him and also Amiri Barnes were fantastic. I told Amiri that after the game, Amiri came up to me, and he was like, "My name is Amiri Barnes." I was like, "Yeah, I know your name." He's like, "No, you've been calling me Amari Baines on the podcast." And I was like, "Oh." I was like, man, I've made a habit of mispronouncing names over the past couple of weeks, and I promise I will get it done. And, right now in this moment, I am really scared that I'm mispronouncing Amiri, and he's going to message me again and say this is wrong. But it says Amiri. I'm pretty sure it's Amiri. Anyways, I only say that because he's a heck of a player. He's only a sophomore. He was out at the camp, Walker, and he looked good as well. He's going to be a great prospect for Houston Christian moving forward. Also, in terms of Trinity Valley, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention junior quarterback Gavin Parkhurst, who every time that I see him looks more and more like a D1 prospect. His size is very impressive. He throws the ball well, obviously, as everyone knows, but also his ability to put his head down and run selflessly, because usually a guy like that at his size doesn't look like he's super mobile, and you think he kind of wants to protect himself. He doesn't. He wants to get out and get yards and points for his team in whatever way he can, and he does a fantastic job of it. And also their running back, Trinity Valley's running back Ben Nagishu, looks fantastic. He's an absolute bowling ball. I heard from some guys in the concession line that he's just been a weight room warrior all off season, and he looks like it. The dude's really good. All that being said, Walker, I think this is a preview of the SPC 3A championship game. Is there any reason to think otherwise?
No, absolutely not. And I won't mention names, but we had a DM afterwards from, we get DMs every Friday night, and one of them was, we'll see them in November again. And that is exactly what I think about it. Is that matchup is going to be awesome. And the saying goes, you can't beat a team twice is a lot in football. And in this might be another case where, if Houston Christian has to go up to DFW and beat them again. And so that's gonna be hard to do, but if any team could do it, it's gonna be Brett Kilkhurst and the Stangs, and I'm excited to watch that matchup. And you'll definitely be there, and hopefully I can make it up there for that one. But yeah, TVS will be there, and this will now just make him a little bit more angry for the rest of the season. So I apologize to every other SBC 3A team that they're gonna have to face.
Yeah, I might pencil that in as potentially one of the best games of the entire year, because as competitive as it was on Friday, I can't imagine what that's going to look like with a title on the line. It's going to be fantastic between two teams that aren't perennial powers, because John Cooper's won the last two. So both of these teams are really hungry to get their name etched into that trophy. It's going to be a fun time. But all of that being said, that actually concludes our 5 games that we recapped from last week. And now we will move into our other news segment briefly before we preview 5 games for this week. Starting with, do they cover? So Parish is actually off this week, so we're going to have to leave them off. That being said, I don't think I've even floated this to you.
Do we? Oh, sorry. You were about to say something. I had a segment in mind, a team in mind to flip them with.
I think that we're thinking of the same thing, and I was going to say that we do this next week. It's Liberty, isn't it?
Yeah.
I had a Liberty parent like text me. He's like, hey, we need to be on the Do They Cover segment. And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, they really do this season. It might be, they are at least on the same level of Parish and DC. That'd be cool. We got a D1, a D2, and a D3 Do They Cover segment. We might add First Baptist to that and do all 4 divisions of TAPS.
No, 100%. I kind of like that. I like that.
Yeah, definitely so. But so for this week, we have one cover question. Last week, DC covered the spread against Nolan Catholic. This week, they are a 29.5 point favorite against Fort Worth Christian. I'm only going to say mine because it doesn't give away my pick. I'm going to say they don't cover that spread. And that's, of course, just going to light a fire under Dallas Christian and give them bulletin board material. And they're going to go out, and if they cover, I'll never hear the end of it. It's not the first time that I've been yelled at by DC fans and players. I'm used to it at this point, but I'm going to say 30 points is ridiculous, especially in a rivalry this heated. They don't cover.
Woo. I'm going to say they do. I'll flip it on you. I think they do. And for the people who are watching the segment in a couple of minutes to pick the games, you didn't see this.
Yeah, that's so many points. And again, full disclosure, and I will say this for probably every game that we preview this week for guys that skip around and watch the games, we don't make the spreads. People
Yeah.
have gotten that confused. We don't make the spreads. They're computer generated this early in the year until there are a lot of common opponents. They're really wonky. That being said, I say that DC doesn't cover. Walker says they do. We will move on into our next segment and see how that stands. Next segment being our Texas private school media rankings for week 6. Here they are. Walker, I'm not even going to go through and say all of them. They're the exact same as last week. All the teams performed as they should have. Everyone actually on this list won, and All Saints lost to a big public school. At the end of the day, I can't fault them for that. We decided not to drop them. We're going to wait. No, we're not going to wait. These are the rankings, but we're going to wait and see. Basically, interdivision losses are going to hold a lot more weight than losing to an established public school. But
Yeah.
a lot of the same. Any comments, questions, concerns regarding the rankings as they stand?
No, not really. I will say this, and I'll just say this because it's pretty cool, and because also this is the one team that lost, I'll say it. Did you the Anna Quarterback Club, I guess like their Facebook or whatever for Anna High School, said that this was their first time playing at a private school, and the venue was small but very nice. Had a small college game day field, especially with the tailgate live music. Most friendliest and most hospitable people before and after the game. They said they were first class for class act, all the thing, first rate class act type of thing for All Saints. Just shout out to them, man. That's what we want. That's what the reputation we want to uphold, and I just wanted to shout out them in the segment. But to actually talking football, I think it makes sense. Like we always say, EHS Liberty is kind of 1A, 1B. I would love for them to each play each other. It's going to be interesting to see. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good list.
I think so as well. Yeah, a shout out to All Saints. Like I said something similar on the space, but as much as I like really good football, and trust me, I like it a lot. There's nothing I like more than seeing stuff like that. At the end of the day, you might not realize it while you're playing. It's bigger than football. Being a good person, a person of quality and character, and especially, what a lot of these schools will teach you to do, it's much more important. And seeing that displayed through all of All Saints' community, it makes me happy. I mean, it speaks to the character of that school, and it's really good to see. So shout out to Fort Worth All Saints. And following that, we will get into our 5 games of the week, but not before we hear a word from High Point Signs and Apparel. Listen, Walker, we are broken records. High Point Signs and Apparel has been fantastic to us. Our merch line, which just closed a couple weeks ago, we did the entire thing through them. You're wearing the hat. You will always see us in the hats and the hoodies and the shirts. You look down on a project of that significance, and it's a big one, creating, designing, and executing your own clothing brand. And you're like, this is going to be the hardest thing of all time. And once we got hooked up with High Point, we realized these guys make it easy. I mean, it's such a simple process. Everyone there is incredibly professional. Everything goes incredibly smoothly. They don't miss deadlines. They provide exceptional customer service. They will meet or beat any price you bring to them. And they create online stores that can provide your employees with apparel, or they can be profit centers. That's exactly what we did. And trust me, it's a testament. It works, and it works well. Walker, Lott, High Point Signs and Apparel has been incredibly good to us and incredibly easy to work with. I mean, what are your thoughts on what the guys do?
No, it's been phenomenal to work with them, and it's been such an exceptional time trying to collaborate and figure out what we want to do. And with the apparel drop and everything with the store, it was nothing but the best. And that's it's what we want, and it's what they give us. And it's not just us, it's everyone else that they would work with. Is what they do is they give their absolute best, and that's what we love. And yeah, definitely, like I always say, if you have playoff shirts coming up or signs for your school or for game days or anything like that y'all need, go reach out to High Point Signs and Apparel. They can definitely help you out with any of your game day needs, playoff time, regular season, anything. They're awesome to work with. They're easy to work with. So definitely go check them out.
Absolutely. The links to High Point's website will be in the show notes. Please click that, get signed up with them. They are fantastic. It is this most seamless signs or apparel company you will work with. I guarantee it. So shout out to High Point Signs and Apparel for sponsoring this episode. Now, Walker, we move into the meat and the potatoes. My favorite part of every episode, even though it leads to me getting chirped on Twitter by various schools, are 5 games of the week. Starting with Concordia Lutheran at the Woodlands Christian Academy. TWCA is a 6.5 point favorite at home. Two squads trending in different directions will face off this coming Friday. TWCA started the season with a bang, but injuries to Kai, Parker, and others have made for some tough sledding as they have dropped their last 3 games. The Warriors' defense has been suspect. I think the combination of Tanner Huckfelt and Lou Lamar have a great opportunity to exploit that. Give me the Crusaders in this one. I know that we traditionally pick Concordia Lutheran very low in that district. However, I think this matchup gives them a lot of good opportunities. I really like Tanner Huckfelt after watching him at the quarterback competition. Lou Lamar is just, if there's somebody that's a dog, it's Lou Lamar. I think both of those guys can get loose. I think we're going to see a lot of points in this game, but I think Concordia scores more. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Concordia, man. Concordia has had a good start to the season, 3-1 record, and Tanner Huckfelt is balling so far, man. 67% completion, 746 rush passing yards, 10 total touchdowns. I mean, he looks really, really good down there in Concordia, and added with the Dartmouth commit, Lou Lamar. They look good, man, and I'm excited to see how they do going in the district, and they could surprise some people, man. And I think we got added by one of their fan pages a while back. Do you remember that? Where
I don't.
Basically they message us saying like, you got to give us recognition, and one of us opened the tweet and opened the DM, but didn't respond back, and they saw it said seen and tweeted us and said like, that's how it is. All right. And so so they have some animosity towards us, which I guess I understand, but we're going to pick you this time. So we believe in you, and we have been believing in you, especially how the season started, and with how y'all's players are playing really well. So, we believe in you. Put on a show for us on Friday night. So I'm excited for that.
Or maybe we're just putting the TXPS media curse pick on them, which always seems whenever everyone picks one team, they lose. Just kidding. We love Concordia Lutheran. Shout out to whatever fan page said that's how it is. If I would have known that, I might have played into the heel a little bit more and taken TWCA, because that's always how that seems to go. But yeah, I'm going to take Concordia Lutheran in this one. I think they have a great opportunity coming up here, and I hope to see them exploit that. Moving on into the next game, the battle of the Episcopal schools. Episcopal School of Dallas versus Episcopal Bellaire. EHS is a 15.5-point favorite at home. Man, oh man, the talent will be on full display this week as the Eagles travel to Houston to challenge the Kings of Private School Bellaire Episcopal. EHS is a perfect 5-0 on the season, and an offense consisting of UNLV commit Carson Gordon, BJ Thompson, Logan Barty, Garen Sampson. There are too many dadgum weapons to account for on Episcopal. The defense is just as juiced behind Yale commit Braylon Thomas and Power 5 target Madden Morgan. And EHS can line up just across from anyone in the state and compete, and I mean that when I say it. However, ESD is coming off wins of 37 and 46 points respectively, and will undoubtedly show up big in a big way on Friday. Quarterback Jake Jurke has bounced back in a big way, and with Hutch Chipman to throw to, the Knights secondary, I think, will be tested in a way they might not have been outside of Hutch Crow this year. This ESD defense is stout, though, allowing 12 points on the year and pitching 2 shutouts already. Led by Colin Nicholson, it is very most likely the best defense that EHS has seen up to this point. However, I think this is the best offense, excluding Liberty, that Episcopal School of Dallas has seen, and for that reason, I'll ride with the Knights. What's the spread? 15.5. I think that's reasonable. Which is kind of crazy that I'm saying it's a super close game, but 15 points with EHS this year is a very close game. It's going to be a lot closer of a margin than they'll see against most teams, but there's just too much talent. I can't take EHS. I can't not pick EHS until they lose. Got to take Episcopal here.
Wow. I'm going to be a little bold, and I'm going to say that spread is very, very small. I think it should be much more. I'm going to say EHS here rolls, and I think they have a message to the rest of SPC that they are here and we are clicking and we're going to roll. And I'm going to say that spread of 15.5 is too small, and I think it's going to be much more. And I think Episcopal gets the job done here and sends a message to the rest of SPC.
That is interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like That's going to be interesting. I think the spread is somewhat accurate, but I can see very easily them well exceeding it.
No,
It's going to be interesting.
The spread is good. I'm just saying, in my mind and how their mindset's going to be, I think it's going to be a little too more. Like I always say, how they lost last year is one of the worst ways to lose a football game. And if they don't have it on their minds going into SPC play where they don't want to put anything to chance, this is how you do it. And you set the tone off right with a big win over ESD. So I'm going to say all the talent comes to play. They play well. A large school player of the year candidate, Carson Gordon, comes to play this game. And I think he does really, really well this game.
That's a great point. Yeah, I think you could definitely see that. And that's going to factor into us both picking Episcopal out of Bellaire to win this game. Speaking of teams that beat EHS, Kinkaid will face St. Thomas at home this Friday. Kinkaid is an 18.5-point favorite in this game. We mentioned the spreads were a little wonky this early in the season. Oh, yet again, I haven't mentioned it yet. We don't make the spreads, okay?
We do not. We do not make the spreads.
They're computer generated.
This is for fun.
This is for fun. This is not financial advice. All the disclaimers we can possibly put, just not we don't make the spreads. Anyways, two of the best teams in the greater Houston area will square off on Friday as SPC 4A Kinkaid will battle TAPS Division 1 St. Thomas. The story of Kinkaid's season so far has been their defense. With no Power 5 level player to lean on as in past years, the Falcons have bowed their necks and are allowing only 12 points per game this year. Athlete Miles Rader is a big piece of the stout defense and also a very, very talented running back for the Falcons. And with David Capibianco back playing quarterback for the Falcons, this team is proving they can compete for a spot in Dallas come November. On the other side of the coin, St. Thomas is St. Thomas. Having a quarterback like Dante Lewis should violate the precedents established at the Geneva Convention. His ability to extend plays is one of the more spectacular things I've witnessed covering the sport. You can just go to his Twitter and probably make two little swipes and find a video of him getting pressured by a defensive end and just like Johnny Manziel spinning out of it. It's crazy.
Or go to txpsmedia.com or go to twitter.com/txpsmedia and find it there. Like, subscribe, turn on your notifications. Continue.
We have to do our shameless plugs throughout the episode. We need to grow. That being said, he's adding in Vandy commit Johan Cardenas in the backfield, and you have two absolute freaks you have to deal with. That's also not accounting for Luke Edgecombe, Larry Benton, Tyler Day, Michael Anthony Okoro. The list goes on and on and on, to quote Oliver Tree. This game will be closer than people think. I expect a similar strategy from Kinkaid as the one employed against EHS last year, which won them a title. I think there's going to be a lot of ball control, a lot of very, very intricate wrinkles employed by Larned in that squad. I think you're going to see a lot of chess moves between Larned and McGuire, and it's going to come down to that, I think, to who wins this game. But will it work without a Bell brother? I'm not sure. And I'm a risk-adverse person. So my smooth brain is saying play it safe with St. Thomas. Listen, I hate this pick. I hate this pick. Every time that Kinkaid plays a team that supposedly has much more talent, et cetera, yada, 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 I pick against them and they win. And I've got to deal with Coach Larned adding us on Twitter, all of that. I got to take St. Thomas. There's no rational way I can look at this matchup and not take St. Thomas. I think it is going to be much closer than people think. Also, throw that Kinkaid 18.5-point spread out the balcony. It's St. Thomas, from anyone that knows ball, is going to be heavily favored in this game. I don't think it's going to be as wide of a margin as people think. I think St. Thomas is great. That's not taking anything away from them. Kinkaid will always play up to their competition and make this a game. I expect this to be low scoring, gritty, just a smash mouth affair. I just think St. Thomas is going to have a little too much in the end.
I think, this is going to be a great test for the defense, to see how they do against teams like Bellaire and ESD coming into the district time for Kinkaid. But it's Uno, man. It's Mr. Uno. And you know who he has number 23 next to him? Vandy. Next to him, the 1, 2, 3. Look at that. 1, 2, 3. It flows like that, just like their backfield flows to being the best, one of the best in the state. as long as they have Uno, I can't go against them, man. So give me Dante Lewis, give me Johan Cardenas, give me St. Thomas. They beat them last year with Michael Bell at the helm in a pretty good game for the first, couple quarters. I just think that probably that Kinkaid team might have been better last year with Michael Bell on the helm. And I think the St. Thomas team is even better this year. So I think that's kind of my rationale behind it. I think it's a good test for Kinkaid to see how their defense can stack up. But yeah, give me St. Thomas here. St. Thomas is looking like with Bellaire, probably the two best teams in the state. And Houston might run private school this year. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, it certainly will. It will be, I think, a fantastic game tomorrow evening. That being said, we were moving on into a game that I know you're very excited for. Trinity Christian Addison at Southwest Christian on SCS's homecoming, if I'm not mistaken.
Homecoming was last week. This is just a regular good old game.
Okay, good. Then I've got a couple minds I have to maneuver around in the script, so I'll try not to read it verbatim because I've got the word homecoming in there a couple times. Anyway, TCA is a 2.5-point favorite on the road this one, and a 4-1 team will meet a 1-4 team this Friday when Trinity Christian travels west to play Southwest Christian. SES has reverted to old ways, and that means pounding the rock. Sophomore Bork Toller has been outstanding in that field with almost 200 yards against John Paul II and 4 touchdowns against Dashy. It's inexcusable, but I still am not completely sure what Dashy is. I just know every team in private school they play, they get beat by 50. So I think that's all I really need to know. The flip side is SCS can't really pass the ball. Junior White Averhoff has taken the reins from Maddox McCarroll, and the Eagles have not passed for more than 130 yards in a game yet, and they're averaging much less than that, probably under 100 yards. However, it's hard to argue with 4-1, so something's going right down in Southwest Christian. As for Trinity Christian Addison, senior Aiden Mills has retaken the reins at quarterback following the Hunter Flat experiment for the first few weeks of the season. TCA didn't get boat raced by All Saints, but it wasn't particularly close either. Their one win is against Fort Bend Christian, who is on the struggle bus so far this season. I think it comes down to this. Southwest Christian has the better offense, while I think TCA has a better defense. And I'm going to get called a moron by everyone, including Walker Lott, for this, but I'm going to go with my gut and take TCA here. I'm looking at SCS's schedule. None of these wins are impressive at all to me. And I'm not trying to dog them.
Wow.
I think TCA has played marginally better teams. I don't know. A lot of this there was a fair amount of analysis on my part, and a lot of it's gut. I just think TCA comes out and gets the win here. I think SCS's offense by design is very one-dimensional. Okay, bye, Walker. This is now a solo podcast. I will continue on for the rest of the time by myself. I don't think Walker can hear me. No, I won't say that. Anyways, TCA is going to win here. I think they're going to beat SCS. I was going to say on their homecoming, but apparently it's not their homecoming. I don't know how much longer I can keep stalling while Walker is looking for a hat or a visor. I'm not even going to spoil what the surprise is going to be. You can probably guess watching at home. Yeah, Walker, I've run out of words to stall. I'm taking TCA in this matchup. Let's hear what you got.
All right. This is a good one. It's a good test for both teams because TCA won't probably play a team like SES with offensively where they're going to pound the rock, do a lot of things that you don't see often in high school football anymore. On the other side, SES is going to play a team that's going to be, a bigger school and all that. They've played them before and they have a couple guys that are really good players. So it's going to be a good test for both squads. However, it's hard to go against my guys because that's exactly why I won't go against them. Look at this. You see the visor. I'm rocking the visor game today, ladies and gentlemen. This is my Lane Kiffin era. Is that a good one?
Yeah.
Thank you. This is 5 years old, but yeah, I have to ride with my guys. I think this SES team, it's such an interesting squad because they have the talent. They have a couple guys. I love Bryce Anderson. I think he's a really, really good player, and I'm excited to see him. I think Maddox McCarroll is one of the most underrated dudes in the state. His athleticism and his burst, his quickness is so special. And defensively, I mean, J.R. Stegall and DJ Beasley on the defensive line. What more do you want in Division Two, man? Those guys are dogs. And, DJ Beasley is kind of playing a little bit of offense too, as like a tight end role. I mean, they're a good squad, man. I'm going to roll with my guys no matter what. Eagle pride forever. I'll rep it since the beginning. I'll rep it to the end. And I think they're a good squad. I think this is a great test. Yeah, I think Jalen Beckley is going to have a great test with DJ Beasley. I think DJ, I need something from you today. I need it. I need a couple sacks on this game, man. I think you're about to ball out. I think, JR is going to ball out. These are my guys, man. Shout out TXPS intern Caleb Corm on the offensive line. I'm going to get to see him. I haven't been back to a game at SES in 2 years, and I'm excited to finally be back. And yeah, I am very, very excited for this one. This is going to be a good one. I love this team, and I'm excited to see a couple guys rock and do really well. And yeah, I'm just intrigued, man. I'm very, very intrigued. Also, a couple other guys, I think Wilson Jones, Holden Shellhorse, guys like that are going to be very, very good athletes. And I'm excited to finally see Wyatt Aberhoff. They don't pass a lot in that offense, but I think he's a good, baseball background. I think he's going to be a good quarterback for them. And yeah, man, I'm really excited for these guys. I'm excited to be back home, and it should be a good environment. Always a good time back home in Eagle Field. So, yeah. But I really do think TCA is a good squad, and I think they're going to do really well this game. I'm excited to see Aiden Mills and other guys, Luke Dore, etc. They have a good squad, and they're going to show it today. And it's also going to be interesting to see without a guy like Takashi Shaw, and seeing them live without a guy like that, where he was a big weapon for them last year, and who kind of steps up for this offense this year.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a great matchup. I think it's going to be close, and I think I'm jealous that you get to go watch it. It's going to be a really fun one to analyze and cover. That being said, speaking of fun matchups to cover, a matchup that I will be live on scene at tomorrow at Wheeler Field, Fort Worth Christian at Dallas Christian. Dallas Christian is a 29.5 point favorite. We don't make the spreads. I told you they're wonky. I've already explained this. I've already explained the spread earlier. Here we go. A tale as old as time, nothing but unbridled hatred between these two old foes, and neither of them would have it any other way. Last year, Fort Worth Christian got sick of everyone talking about how great DC was and prevented an undefeated season by the Chargers behind a 239-yard masterpiece from Luke Anderson, carving up the Chargers' front like at the backside of a ski slope. Ooh. This year, the landscape looks a little different. The Chargers have already been handed their first loss of the season, but behind standouts Luke Carney at quarterback, Will Nettles at wide receiver and cornerback, and Porter Nix at defensive line, I don't think they're too eager to drop another game. I'm on the record somewhere as saying that DC has nothing to worry about the rest of the way after they cleared Bishop Lynch a couple of weeks ago. Following a Fort Worth Christian victory over Grapevine Faith, I formally retract that statement. In that matchup, transfer quarterback Luke Dodd threw for 447 yards and 6 touchdowns without a single interception. Receivers like Grant Gall, Aiden Skiles, and Cade Crawford are going to prove a test for a DC team that has traditionally prided itself on a smothering defense. However, I think regardless of how many points Fort Worth Christian scores, Dallas Christian will score more. Fort Worth Christian is allowing over 30 points per game coming into a game against a team averaging 40 points. Look for a big game from Carney through the air and on the ground, as Fort Worth Christian has struggled to stop the run. I think the game is going to be yet again closer than people who are kind of unfamiliar with the landscape think. However, it's the same concept with DC as it is with EHS and all of them. I'm going to pick them until they drop a game. Now, Wichita Christian is another story. I don't count anything that happens outside of state lines as a football game. That's an exhibition for all I care. But I think DC gets the win here. Point blank, period. Walker Lott, your thoughts?
Yeah, do you want to hear some stats about one of the oldest rivalries in private school? We did this last year,
but
Go check it out last year. I need to update and post it for this year. But Dallas Christian leads the rivalry 41-21, 19-5 since 2002. Their first game was a 14-0 win by Dallas Christian in 67. Mike Wheeler is 28-9 since 1992 in this matchup. For the past since 2013, since 2013, Dallas Christian has won 8 times, while Fort Worth Christian has won 3. If that doesn't show how one-sided this matchup is, I don't know what to tell you. And with that logic, I'm going to pick Dallas Christian. Dallas Christian, I think, is, like we always say, I think this is one of their best teams ever. And they're showing it week in and week out, and it's always very impressive. And Fort Worth Christian, they're not down, but I don't think they can match skill for skill in a lot of areas as Dallas Christian. And I just think that's hard for them to do this game. I'm really excited for you to watch guys like Tucker Ashford and Luke Dodd and Grant Golly and guys like that. The Bryce Bradley, especially seeing a guy like that. I'm excited for you to go watch those guys and see. I think they have a lot of talented athletes, but as a team, I really love this Dallas Christian squad. And I think this is, like I said earlier, I think the 29.5 point favorite, I think it could be a lot more spread. I really do think so. This Dallas Christian team lost last year at Fort Worth Christian, and they're coming to their place this year, and you think they're going to lose? No, and I just don't think that's going to happen. They remember how it was last year. They're not going to remember. They are definitely remembered that, and they're going to make a statement to Fort Worth Christian and be like, "We are still the kings of this rivalry," and they're going to show it this Friday. Porter, please do. Thank you. All right, that's it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great game. I do think it's going to be more tightly contested than people think. I think Fort Worth Christian is a little PO'd that yet again everyone's just talking Dallas Christian, especially a team that's much smaller than Fort Worth Christian. It's going to be a fun time, man. Fort
Worth Christian does have the keys to your house right now, and your
do.
car. And your mortgage, maybe, I think something like that.
Mortgage, something like that. Yeah, I don't know how well. I do know I got through this entire preview without mentioning that because I will never ever do that again. That to be fair, looking back on that, did I even say that because I remember the famous clip of me is from 2 years ago going off. Did I double down on it last year?
Put it in here. It is.
I think a lot of people remember my rant prior to this game last year, and honestly, you can bet your house and your neighbor's house on Dallas Christian again this year. It's certainly worth more money now than it was this time last year. Put everything you own on Dallas Christian in this game and then some. Walker, Lott, your thoughts?
Yes, you absolutely did. I really do think so. Now, okay, guys. Okay, both fandoms. You ready for this? Okay, what if it is the battle? Like, it's already a rivalry, but what if it's the battle of Wes's keys, and we put it on a trophy, and we need to get it from the tight end from last year. We need to get it from him. Whoever has it for Fourth Christian, please reach out and let us know. But whoever has it, what if we put it on a trophy and we give it to the opposing winner, and we can make it something? Thoughts?
That'd be hilarious.
That would be really cool.
That would be funny. Yeah, no, I don't know if that's viable now because I'm not putting any of my personal belongings.
I'm speaking into existence. The metaphorically, every guy who wins that rivalry gets Wes's car, gets his house, metaphorically, and his mortgage and his student loans and everything. But they basically own Wes Tolleson.
That's fine. You can have if you take my car and my house, you can have my student loans as well. That balances out. But yeah, that's it's gonna be a good matchup. I have never been to a Dallas Christian Fort Worth Christian game, and there's nothing I like more. This completely goes against everything I said in the be a good person segment. There's nothing I love more than hate. I love two teams that hate each other. It takes me back to playing football. That's probably like the most visceral emotions I've ever felt, is playing football against 11 guys that I despise. It is such a fun experience. As you can tell, I'm getting fired up talking about it.
Yep.
That being said, that is actually going to conclude all of our analysis and projections for the upcoming week. The games will be tomorrow. You'll be watching this on Thursday evening or Friday morning, depending on your preference. Walker Lott, as always, I think this is a fantastic slate. I love getting to do this. It is probably the highlight of my week. Your thoughts on the upcoming action and any closing thoughts?
No, I'm so excited about the speak rivalry of Wes's Keys into existence, and it's going to happen. And I will make a trophy. We're going to speak this into existence, and we're going to do it because I think that would be awesome. That 50 years from now, there's going to be a bowl on top of a trophy full of your keys to house. And
do you know how confused Mike Wheeler is going to be if we give that to Dallas Christian? He's going to be like, what is this?
But they will get it. You know what I mean? Like the fans
true.
will get it. But 50 years from now, they're going to be like, who's Wes Tolleson? And like, why does we have his keys? And they're going to be like, well, long ago, there was a podcast run by two guys in high college. And it's going to go like that. And I hope that is real. And I'm it's going to remember it. And we're going to do this. And so guys from both schools, I know y'all both watch. Your ADs, coaches, whoever watches, please reach out to us because we're going to start a rivalry of this historic rivalry. We're going to call it like the TXPS Bowl or something. I don't know. We're going to figure it out. And it's going to be the Battle of Wes's Keys.
I love that. Yeah. It's going to be a fun time. Yet again, I can't believe that we're number one. I can't believe we're going to do that. I also can't believe we're previewing the 6th week of the season. I feel like we started week 1 yesterday. But that being said, fantastic games we have to cover. Yet again, as always, go follow us on social media. That's at TXPS Media, TXPS MEDIA on Instagram, on Twitter. Please, if you're watching the podcast and you enjoy what we do, please like and subscribe. That helps the algorithm, helps other people find us as we are trying to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. But all that being said, as always, I am one half of your hosting crew, Wes Tolleson. Walker Lott has fantastically been himself. We will see you in the next episode. See you later.
3, 2, 1.